Hey there guys, time for another video with a voiceover. Just one of these little sketch and talks with y'all because I love you and I want everyone to be happy and to learn. The main topic for this video is going to be time management, and I talk about that because I actually have a lot of experience with it, especially in my current day. I talked in my last video about being a working artist and how I work a full-time job on top of also trying to do full-time art. Not necessarily full-time, but I try to fit it in where I can. And in order to do that, I have to make a lot of conscious decisions and a lot of I have to put forth a lot of effort in order to make time to do my art. This sometimes means missing out on things. This sometimes means not getting to spend as much time with Aaron as I would like to, but it is what it is. So what are you talking about when you say time management, Terry? Well, here's basically what I'm saying. You have a set amount of responsibilities and you have a set amount of things you need to do in the day. You need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to shower, you need to work out, and then you need to possibly go to work. And then, of course, you still want to draw, which is exactly what I find myself struggling with the most, is making that time to draw because of all the things that I can sort of, give a little bit of leeway with. Working out and drawing are the two that I sort of cut into in order to have time to do everything else. So what I've actually gotten into the habit of doing is waking up by a certain point in the day, which is usually 9 a.m. I go to bed around 1 or 2 in the morning, and getting my day started then. And usually my day will start with drawing. It's a good warm-up. It's a good relaxation thing. I mean, yeah, you'd think coming out of sleep you'd be relaxed, but that's not always true because sometimes the fact that I know I'm going to work is quite stressful. So I wake up and I try to make an effort to at least draw for 2 hours before I go to work. And that works out pretty well, except for the days where I feel like I want to go running. Then I cut into that time. But every morning from 9 until about 11, I do draw. I sketch, but it's mostly concept. It's working on my story stuff, so it's not even really stuff I can show anybody. By the time I get out of work, I do carry a sketchbook with me and I do doodle in it sometimes, but because we're on a closed unit and our break room is quite small and everybody seems to want to take a break at the exact same time, I find that I don't get any privacy to sketch, and people, when you're sketching in public, are very rude and it gets really annoying. And I've tried and I get tired because they're going to sit there and talk at you and talk at you and talk at you and talk at you, and you just want to focus on sketching. So I have found that sketching at work does not work, if that makes any sense to you guys, because it does to me. It's just better for me not to have it out because I get A, no privacy, and B, they don't shut up, and then I can't focus, and I do need to focus because when I'm in a hurry or I'm distracted, I make all of those artsy fartsy little mistakes that I really, really, really hate when I make. And I actually make one in this particular video because I was in a hurry to get the video done, because I didn't know what I was going to talk about and I knew I had a lot of work to do still. So I ended up making a mistake here. And so this is a pretty good example of why you need to set time aside just to draw and spend that time by yourself, as opposed to trying to fit it in all the time. Now, that's not saying that people can't do it. I mean, obviously they can. I mean, like I said, I carry a sketchbook because there used to be a time where if I had a few minutes, I could grab a quick sketch here and there. It has changed with my profession, so that's just kind of the way it is now. But it used to be I could do it. So what else was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'll go to work and I can't really find time to sketch there for reasons, and we can't go off unit for our breaks because, again, it's a safety thing. So I stay on unit, eat my lunch there, and yada, yada, yada. So when I come home at night, there's still usually about an hour, and you guys have seen me doing this. In that hour, I have to take care of my animals because they're a responsibility that does have to get done. That's one of the things that I can't get around. So that's one of those commitments time-wise that I've already had to make, and that's only about 15-20 minutes. So in the last 40 minutes or so, what I found is beneficial to me is I grab this same sketchbook you guys see here, my inking sketchbook. I pop open Instagram and I do a quick stream because I can at least get a half an hour out of that, and it forces me to do something in that half an hour. So that way, not only are you guys entertained to a degree, but also I'm being productive. Now, if it's the night before a day off, I will stay up later and continue to work while Aaron goes to bed, because then I have that moment where he's not there. Well, he's there, but he's sleeping, where I don't feel like I'm neglecting him or anything. And I'll just continue to draw, and then I'll go to bed, and then I'll just sort of compensate for the sleep by sleeping in a little bit the next day, which I can do because then I have the rest of the day off after that. So it all goes towards art. So again, but I have to be aware of like my schedule. I have to be aware of the time. So I always try to dedicate those 2 hours before work and then at least a half an hour after work to drawing specifically, which is why a lot of the stuff that I do now is sketching, because the inking portion, that takes a little bit more time. So sketching is quicker for me. It loosens me up and it keeps my hand moving, which is everything I want. And then when I have the time to dedicate to it, I will start inking and things like that. Full color stuff I haven't done very much of lately, but on my weekends off, that's usually when I will tackle any projects that I want to do in full color. So again, I have to plan for that. Now, things are subject to change because life is never the same exact schedule every single day. Like on my weekends off, we usually go grocery shopping together. So me and Aaron have a couple hours dedicated to each other then, and we do try to spend time together. But there's times where I'm so focused on a project that I'll just flat out tell him, he's like, I understand you want to spend time with me, but I really want to take some time this weekend to do this project. And in my case, I'm quite lucky because he understands that. It's the way I've always been, and I'm very honest with him about it, so he doesn't give me a hard time about it. I'm in a situation where, my family's close, but we're not so close that we need to see each other all the time or even talk to each other all the time. So I don't get lots of communication or demands from my family to come visit or anything like that. And so my situation is different, but what I'm encouraging you guys to do, like I keep a planner with me, and I know it's ridiculous, but I do. I keep a planner with me, and on the days where I know that it's going to get busy, I do write that day out in my planner, hour by hour, everything I'm going to do. And I do make commitments with myself to, I'm going to stop doing this at this time and do art, or I'm going to stop this at that time and do art, or I'm going to get up an hour early just so I can dedicate a little bit more time to doing art. That was one of the things that I learned in nursing school, is that if it's something that helps you relax and it's something you enjoy, you do have to kind of make the time for it. And sometimes it means cutting away from other things. Like, I don't encourage you guys cutting away from sleep, but I do. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you not to do it, because that's exactly what I do, is I take away from my sleep in order to find more time to do art. But yeah. And I'm not going to tell you don't spend time with your family or your loved ones, because they're just as important. There's no point in anything in life if you don't have them there with you or them there as a support. So, don't neglect people, but understand that sometimes, if it's an optional thing like going to the bar, which is completely optional, I don't care what anybody says, you can always turn that down and stay home and do art instead, and then find something else to do with them later, or just sort of explain to them, that's not my jam, I've got this project I want to keep working on and I don't have much free time. Generally, people do accept that if you present it in the right way. If you just say, well, I'm going to stay home and draw because I don't care, well, you can see how people would get offended at that. But most people are understanding, especially if you work a full-time job and you have full-time commitments, that your time is precious, and that if they'll give you like just an extra hour, then most people are willing to wait too, If my mom were to call me up and say, hey, we're having a party at this time, and I'm like, well, I had planned out to do this at this time, but I can come an hour later. Yeah, then, they'll see me an hour later, and most people are cool with that. But keep in mind that your time is yours, guys, and your commitments are yours, and you do control them. I say, yeah, I work a job, but I work that job because I want to work that job, and so I am dedicating myself to that at least 80 hours, and it's been more lately, of working. So anytime I lose an art is one that I'm aware of, because I can always say no. I can always change that. I don't have to work the job I'm working. I can always cut my hours if I wanted to. But I'm making that commitment. So in turn, I have to commit to my time with my art as well. So I try not to cut into that time, although sometimes I do, because sometimes I'm just tired and I want to sleep extra. But it's up to the individual how they dedicate their time when it comes to art, when it comes to life. And again, I encourage you guys, if you're swamped with school and you're swamped with work and everything, get a planner and dedicate, even if it's just an hour, to sitting down and really getting into your artwork, like with no distractions and nothing, close the door, get into your zone and dedicate yourself to your art. It might not be everything you want, but it's better than absolutely nothing. And just revisiting that hobby over and over again like that, even just for an hour a day, is enough to keep you interested in it and hopefully keep you, from losing the skills. Because if you don't use it, you do lose it. And that muscle memory will stay there, but you have to work it back into where you were before you stopped drawing. And I've seen that happen to so many artists. They go without drawing for so long that they forget how to. And that's actually really sad because it's frustrating and disappointing to them. And it's frustrating and disappointing to, I guess the viewers, if you will. It's hard to explain, but I've seen it happen, and I've had it happen to friends of mine. And it's like, ugh. But yeah, so just learn to manage your time, guys. There's only so many hours in a day, and you got to pick what's important to you. And if art's important to you, you'll find a way to fit at least an hour or two of it into your day, even with the other commitments in your life. So, yep, that's a very long-winded video for a very short explanation at the end. But yeah. Oh, and just so you guys know, I am aware that his head is very, very large compared to his body. See, I didn't time manage very well, and I hurried up and did the sketch, and yeah, I'm kind of upset about that, but it's just something to keep in mind and to work on later, because this is a problem I've had since I was a beginning artist, and it pops up especially when I'm under stress or I'm in a hurry. But that's it for this week, guys. I'll see you next week in the next sketch and talk thing. Yeah.